Rakesh Sharma, welcome to Times Now. Fighter pilot, of course, and then the first Indian in space, and so far, still the only Indian citizen in space. And in '84, you flew in on T-11, the Russian spacecraft. Now we have Chandrayaan-2. And Chandrayaan-2, sir, is looking for water on the moon. If we do find water, is it going to change the way the world will look at the exploration of outer space?
Yeah, I think it's a prerequisite. In fact, Chandrayaan-1 has already found traces of the water. The thing about Chandrayaan-2 is that it is hoping that closer to the poles, where the temperatures are lower, it's going to happen. And you're likely to find ice. And if you find water, then Moon becomes a viable destination, a platform from where you can launch deep space missions. And of course, you can also mine stuff like helium, and that is what is going to make deep space exploration possible. So water is the key. And Chandrayaan-2, which is going to land on the 7th of September, is going to tell us a lot about whether or not that's a good destination to be in.
And most importantly, once you find water, you can look at Mars, you can look at the asteroids, look for rare minerals. But while that has to be done, should it be done individually by countries, or should countries work together to do this?
Well, if countries do it individually, then it's only going to be like what we have done in Antarctica. We've gone to Antarctica, countries have drawn lines on the ground and said that this area belongs to me, whatever I find down here belongs to my country. And if you're going to do the same on the moon, then the concept of us versus them, and whatever you find under the surface comes back only to you. And it's a matter of time before you peep over the boundary and see that, hey, that guy's got some better stuff. And it's the same old story. History will repeat itself. Conflict, you will want to dispossess the other of those riches which now you're interested in, and conflict will move from Earth into outer space.
But the United Nations has already said that space is for everybody.
They've said that, yes, space is for everybody. But I'm sorry to ask this question. How effective is the United Nations?
Yes.
If the President of the US can come and say, I'm walking out of the climate treaty, where's the sanctity? You can sit there for years and hammer out protocols, everybody signs up, but when push comes to shove, you opt out. I'm sorry, the UN doesn't have teeth right now. There has to be a realization that we must change the way we live, that our society today is broken. There's too much of conflict, there is too much of bloodshed, there is too much of poverty, and because of all this, we must not continue following the same model. We are at a very, very important point in history. Everybody says that planet Earth is the cradle of human civilization. Here it is for the first time that humanity is stepping out of the cradle with the stated intent of settling down on another heavenly body. This time, first it's Moon and later maybe Mars. Now here is a window of opportunity for us to revisit and fix all that we have not done properly to begin with. Whether it's the environment, whether it is the equitable distribution of wealth. And to my mind, exploring the moon, exploring Mars, living out there, replicating the environment so that humans can survive in that alien environment, is an activity that is beyond the capability of any one nation. We will be forced to collaborate. And when we collaborate, we must use that opportunity that whatever we get from there, should be for the greater good of humanity back home. Else, the same conflict fault lines will move there. And one more thing is that as we carry on furthering our boundaries, you're going to go so far away. What's the big idea? Sticking to your national identity. It doesn't make sense that I'm from India. That little blue speck at that point, I'm from India. We are all from planet Earth. I think we need to change the way we look at life. And this is the time. This is the first time we are leaving planet Earth with the intention of settling elsewhere.
But there have been collaborations. The Apollo-Soyuz mission is perhaps one example of that. You were on a Russian spacecraft.
Yeah, sure. There have been collaborations, but that does not mean that we have. Okay, let me put it another way. India's space program has followed a road less traveled. We've never been in competition. We've not gone and started off with a manned space program. We've not concentrated on putting a space station in near Earth orbit. We have instead focused on applications technology. We have used space technology to get information that impacts the lives, the socio-economic impact in our country. The common man has benefited. Television, telecommunication, telemedicine, teleeducation. So what ISRO has done for India, it is possible if countries get together, they can do for the world.
You spoke of the manned mission in other countries, but India is starting its manned mission. And, well, you're certainly part of it, at least the organization. Can you tell us what is happening and what you are doing?
Well, I'm part of an advisory council. It's a high-level advisory council, and there are some very brilliant brains on it, and there's all the expertise which is there in the country. We are sitting together and basically overseeing the progress of Gaganyaan, which has been given a tight schedule by the Prime Minister. And right now, the shortlist is ready from amongst Indian Air Force pilots. And from that lot, the initial core of astronauts will be Gaganauts, whatever they may call them, will be chosen for the first launch atop
2022, perhaps.
2022. Well, Mr. Sivan says probably December 21. Let's see where it goes. It's just that we will go when we are ready.
Yes, quite rightly. And the technology is going to be very different from the 80s, completely different. But how will it be different for the astronauts? How different will that be?
I don't believe that's going to be much different, primarily because physiologically we haven't changed much. Yes, technology has changed, but essentially in this game, what technology does is that it improves reliability. Of course, if you take the Russian space systems, they believe in incremental improvements. And so the launcher they use today is essentially a refinement of the one which Gagarin had used. So it is as reliable as it can be. Whereas midway, the methodology of reaching near Earth orbit, The Americans went the shuttle way. And whenever you try a new technology, obviously there are going to be problems, and there have been problems with the shuttle initially. And so it's when everything comes together, depending on the complexity of the mission that you are engaged in, probably you need some innovative thought, some hybrid approach, so that you don't lose the reliability, but at the same time get new protocols in place, which your experience has told you, so that quality-wise you are fairly sure that it's going to be a safe initiative.
Yes, even more recently than from the time you flew, you've had 2 shuttles that have gone down and enormous loss of life. And Richard Feynman has made it very clear that things are not as good or were not as good as what NASA said.
Yeah, that's true. The thing is that both the shuttle losses, in my opinion, have not been failures of technology. They have been failures of human failures, and not of those folks who were in the shuttle at that time, but the program managers. Because, and Richard Feynman rightly mentioned that silicon O-ring, but then the makers, I think Martin Thiokol, if I'm not mistaken, the makers did inform this room full of experts that the temperatures are such that that ring is going to get brittle.
Shrink.
And that person was put in the dark and told that, listen, it's on your head. Are you very, very sure that this failure will occur? I mean, what could that guy say, when millions are riding on this? If we scrub this launch, we lose so much. Are you 100% sure it's going to fail? I mean, that's not the correct approach. The approach is, if the one who has made the component says that it is outside my permitted design parameter, then you don't go. It's the same with the tiles which were flying off. 3 tiles, 5 tiles, 8 tiles. And each time the management said that, here, this is the new boundary. I mean, you're pushing your luck,
Yes.
So these were human failures.
But will there be a day when we will get onto a spacecraft the way we get onto a jetliner and go from one place to another? Will that day come, perhaps 30, 50 years later?
I'm sure it will come. I think it will come earlier if we collaborate instead of compete with each other. And yes, it will come. It's inevitable, because that's in our nature. We will keep pushing boundaries, and it'll happen.
You were a test pilot, you were a combat pilot, you flew 21 missions, combat missions during the 71 war.
Yeah.
But now it's not just test pilots. Sure, Neil Armstrong flew combat missions during the Korean War, but now you will have specialists, you will have scientists, professors in space. And is that going to change too for India?
It has
Eventually.
to. It has to. See, people misunderstand. Test pilots are not demigods. Test pilots are trained to look at stuff which may lie on the other side and is not visible. So their training prepares them to investigate and open the envelope layer by layer. So there is a particular process they follow, and that is their training, which is why test pilots are used when systems have to be proven. But once the systems are proven, well, if the return is not onto a runway where piloting skills are required, I'm sure if Chandrayaan makes a successful landing, going by the way autonomous control is picking up, in artificial intelligence and machine learning, if all of that comes together and it becomes safe enough, then after a period of time, in any case, when you're going to inhabit the moon, you will need environmental engineers, structural engineers, whole lot of other disciplines who are
Biologists.
going to set up your habitation there. And so all these guys will need to be trained to operate effectively in that environment. But if it's a new system, a test pilot, by virtue of his training, is the better person to qualify that yes, it works and it's safe from here on for everybody. That's how it has always been, military aviation or anywhere else.
Well, Kalpana Chawla was Indian born. Sunita Williams was Indian born, but they were not Indian citizens. Do you see a woman, an Indian citizen, coming up, getting into space in the near future?
You know,
Or does it not matter?
It
Man,
doesn't
woman,
matter.
It's the same.
of course, because if you make the cut and you're required, well, recently you interviewed Minty Agarwal.
Yes.
Well, there you are. So if the requirements are clear and you make the cut, then you're as good as anybody else. It depends on how good your training is, what your aptitude is, what your application is, and you can be as good as anybody else.
Finally, sir, John Glenn went to space in 1962, and then again, much later. He was 77 years old. You are 70 years old. Would you like to go up again?
I would like to, but John Glenn was a senator when he pushed his case. I am not. I am, you see. If I'm not mistaken, John Glenn was working on one lung at that time.
Yes.
So he used that as the reason for the medics to find out, whether it can be done. So, but he was a senator, so he could push his case through.
So you want to go?
I want to go, of course. Who doesn't want to go?
Thank you very much. It was such a pleasure to meet you.
Thank you.